What's up, guys? Today, I want to talk about Tom Aspinall's return, and not only talk about his return and who he's going to fight, but I actually want to build an entire UFC card around the return of Tom Aspinall, and I want to show you guys in the UFC how it's done, because, you know, the fans are always saying that us YouTubers are so ungrateful. Every card they throw at us, we say it's trash, but I'm going to show you guys what a proper UFC card that we have to pay $85 for should look like in today's video. It's a 13-fight card for UFC 320. Which I would put Tom Aspinall on. I think that might be in Abu Dhabi. I'm not 100% sure. But yes, Tom Aspinall's return is going to be built on this card. And I'm going to make the card in this video. And I want you guys to give me your opinions in the comment. And honestly, I think this card is pretty, like, realistic. Like, you could put this together. The fans in the comments are going to say, dude, this is unrealistic. But it's a realistic card. And this would by far be the best card of the year. One of the best cards of all time. But as fans, we don't get nice things anymore. We have to gloat over UFC 317, which on paper was a mid-card, but ended up performing very well. With all that out of the way, let's get right into it. Two early prelim fights, starting off with the first one. Oelon versus Navajo Sterling. Now, Oelon's obviously coming off a loss to Ion Cutelaba. Not the best loss to have. He got submitted, but Navajo Sterling, prospect kickboxer out of New Zealand, looked a little bit mid in his last fight. I forgot who he fought, but man, this would be an absolute banger to open the fight card, because these guys, you already know they're going to throw, they're going to swing hammers. They're both light heavyweights, so they're both going to have big power. And yeah, man, this would just be a fun fight. Oelon would have a chance to bounce back off his loss versus Ion Cutelaba. Before that, he was on a 12-fight win streak, all knockouts, I believe. And yeah, and for Navajo Sterling, obviously I forgot about his last fight, but he did get cracked a few times, showed a good chin, but not the greatest performance, but he did get the win. Navajo Sterling is undefeated. So undefeated versus a prospect from Turkey, prospect versus prospect. This would be a banger of a matchup and more than likely would end in a knockout. That's a great way to open a main card. Getting on to the second fight on the early prelims. Now, this is a banger. Carlos Leal versus Mike Malott. Mike Malott has bounced back from his infamous Neil Magny fraud check, which was pretty embarrassing, if I do say so myself. If you're getting fraud checked by Neil Magny, were you really ever championship material? Either way, Mike Malott has gotten 2 wins since then, and Carlos Leal should be undefeated in the UFC, but he got absolutely robbed by Fakhretdinov at UFC 308. Nonetheless, he bounced back and destroyed Alex Morono. And Mike Malott looked improved in his last 2 fights. He looked to be more patient and not expend all his energy in the first round. So I think him versus Carlos Leal would be an absolute banger. And spoiler alert, I think Carlos Leal would destroy Mike Malott. But who knows? Mike Malott did just finish Charles Radke with a brutal finish. So you never know. But Carlos Leal, I mean, you can even see it in his picture, in his PNG. This dude's jacked out of his mind. This dude's on all the sauce. And the UFC just doesn't seem to care. So, yeah, Carlos Leal versus Mike Malott would 100% be a banger fight to end the early prelims. And starting on the main card, or the main prelims, we got Pat Sabatini versus Doohoo Choi. Now, this is a fun fight. Pat Sabatini obviously just ended the hype of Joe Anderson Brito, which was very frustrating because a lot of us thought that Joe Anderson Brito was going to run through Pat Sabatini. But no, he put a grappling clinic on him. And Doohoo Choi, who's also coming off a pretty good win, destroyed Nate the Train. Nate the Train in the UFC, baby! He destroyed Nate the Train and made him look like a fool. And where's Doohoo Choi? That was like 6 months ago. This guy fights like once a year. Let's get him back in there for UFC 320 versus Pat Sabatini. This is a good matchup. And the winner of this matchup can see who can go on to fight a ranked opponent, in my opinion, because they're both like right under the top 15 of featherweight. They might be in like the 15 to 20 range. So whoever wins this matchup would be on a win streak and be looking for a ranked opponent. And yeah, I think Doohoo Choi would avoid the takedowns of Pat Sabatini and absolutely school him. But nonetheless, it would be a fun fight. Pat Sabatini's game, he has great grappling. His striking leaves a lot to be desired. But nonetheless, Korean Superboy is always in banger fights, never has a boring fight. So I think this would be a great fight to open up the prelims. Getting on to the next fight on the prelims, you already know it is what it is. You got to throw a WMMA fight on there. I know we scrutinize the UFC, but we're not putting it on the main cards. We're burying it in the prelims. And you know what? Julian Robertson, she's a finisher at strawweight, and she's always game. She's always looking to end the fight. Versus Tatiana Suarez, who just kind of her wrestling got exposed against Zhang Weili. So this would be a good fight for Tatiana to defend her spot against I know it's number 9 versus number 2, but listen, dude, Jillian Robertson's been cutting her teeth in the UFC for a long time. It's time to give her a number 1 contenders fight. If she beats Tatiana Suarez, give her that title shot. Why not, man? She's, like I said, she's a killer. She's a finisher in WMMA, which is very rare. And this is a good main card fight. And for Tatiana Suarez, if you can out grapple and beat up Julian Robertson, that's very impressive. and maybe you can be 1 or 2 wins off another title shot in your own regard. So I think this is a perfect WMMA fight to have on this card. A #1 contenders matchup for Julian Robertson versus Tatiana Suarez, and that'll be the only WMMA fight on this card. So don't go crazy, guys. Next fight on the prelims would be Patchy Mix versus Ricky Simone. Now, obviously, Patchy Mix made his UFC debut a couple cards ago, and he got exposed and destroyed by Mario Bautista. Not destroyed, but like got made look a fool by Mario Bautista. He made some excuses saying he came in on 3 weeks' notice, but that wasn't our question, Patchy Mix. Our question was, why didn't you shoot a single takedown in a 3-round fight when you're known to be like this dominant grappler? And for Ricky Simone, I mean, this guy's coming off a couple good wins. I think he beat Cameron Smotherman. Before that, he KO'd Javid Basharat. Not Javid Basharat. I forgot his name. The other Basharat, one of the Basharat bros, he KO'd him out cold, and it was a brutal KO. He was on a 3-fight losing streak before that. So Ricky Simone is on a bit of a career resurgence. People forget, man, Ricky Simone defeated Merab by submission back in the day. But this would be a good fight for Patchy Mix to test his grappling skills and see where he is in the UFC. Because obviously after getting fraud checked, so to speak, by ranked #10 Mario Bautista, a lot of people were high on Patchy Mix. I picked Patchy Mix to beat Mario Bautista, and he made a fool of all of us. So I wasn't too happy with Patchy Mix, I'm going to be honest. But let's get him back in there versus a guy right outside the rankings. And you know what? See where Patchy Mix stacks up, because if he can go out there, take down Ricky Simone, dominate him in the grappling, or even knock him out on the feet, that's a very respectable win. And then Patchy Mix can turn around and say, you know what, guys, I took that last fight on short notice. This is what I'm really capable of. And for Ricky Simone, if you can get another big name like Patchy Mix, a Bellator champion on your resume, that's another good feather in his cap, and he could be looking to fight back into the rankings. So this is a great fight to put in the middle of the prelims. Getting on to the next fight, Shamil the Mildil Gaethje versus Tai Tuivasa. This is an absolute banger that's a near guarantee to end in a knockout. Shamil Gaethje, obviously one of the greatest memes in the history of the UFC. They don't call him Shamil the Mildil Beef Chief for nothing. This guy is still in your Happy Meal and eating you for breakfast any chance he gets. And for Tai Tuivasa, I know this guy's on the seafood diet. See everything seafood and eat it no matter where it's at. But yeah, it's time for him to return. I think in a recent interview, he said he was way over the heavyweight limit. But by October, I'm sure Tai Tuivasa can hop on the treadmill at Planet Fitness and get his weight down to take on the GOAT. The real ducking of Tom Aspinall is Shamil Gaethje. Tom Aspinall is quaking in his boots for Shamil the Mildil to come up there and take that belt. No, all jokes aside, this would be an absolute heavyweight banger. You arguably could put this again on the headline of the prelims, but I did not want to disrespect the guys in the headline of the prelims, and you'll see that in a second. But nonetheless, Shamil Gaethje versus Tai Tuivasa, #10 versus #11. I don't know how Tai Tuivasa is ranked #10, but he is ranked 1 spot ahead of Shamil Gaethje. And like I said, this is fireworks. If Shamil Gaethje wins, he's going to be a top 10 fighter looking to crack into that top 5 to fight for that elusive heavyweight strap, which never gets defended. But now that we have Aspinall as a champion, we're going to see some movement in the heavyweight division. And what better way to get it started than Shamil Gaethje versus Tai Tuivasa? Book this fight. It's a must. It's a banger. It's a guaranteed knockout. Getting on to the headliner of the prelims, 2 former flyweight champions, Deiveson Figueiredo versus Henry Cejudo. And you know what? Dare I say it? A double retirement fight. Why not, man? Deiveson Figueiredo, he's on a bit of a slide now. He got beat up and outpointed by Piotr Jan. He just got kind of pieced up and finished by Corey Sandhagen. And for Henry Cejudo, you're on a 3-fight losing streak, right? You just got pieced up a bit by Song Yadong before you got poked in the eye and had to quit. Don't get me wrong, Henry Cejudo looked decent against Song Yadong, but I do think he was kind of getting picked apart in that fight and kind of just worked. And I think that Henry Cejudo versus Deiveson Figueiredo is the perfect fight for both of these guys to go out. 37-year-old Deiveson Figueiredo versus 38-year-old Henry Cejudo. They're in a similar stage in their career. They're both former flyweight champions that have also had success at bantamweight. It's a perfect story for both of them to ride off into the sunset. And listen, if the winner moves them up a little bit further on the greatest of all time list, so let's see who the real OG best flyweight champion is out of these 2 unks. And yeah, this would be a perfect fight to headline the prelims. Look at this card so far and tell me this is not absolutely stacked and fun to watch. And that's not even the main card yet, because we got a 6-fight main card. Wait till you guys see these fights. They're absolute bangers. Getting on to the main card, we got Michael Chandler versus Drew Dober. Now, I know from a ranking standpoint, this doesn't make a lot of sense. But listen, man, Michael Chandler's here for a good time, not for a long time at this point. This guy's 39. Let's put him against Drew Dober, who is an absolute stud in his own right and banging it out. Michael Chandler versus Drew Dober is a guaranteed slugfest, fight of the night, just throwing hammers, throwing big meaty hooks, just looking to take each other's head off. I know Drew Dober just lost to Manuel Torres. We're going to throw that out the window, throw rankings out the window. Michael Chandler doesn't deserve to fight ranked. So him versus Drew Dober to open the main card would be an explosive fight. This is a perfect fight for the casual fans. Just two jacked dudes throwing haymakers, looking to KO each other. And as we know, Drew Dober doesn't lose to white guys. So Michael Chandler, no, Drew Dober does lose to white guys. He doesn't lose to black guys. So Drew Dober might actually win this fight because he's facing Michael Chandler and not Bobby Green. So yeah, actually he's going to lose. What am I saying, man? You guys get it, man. Drew Dober versus Michael Chandler. Maybe Michael Chandler can finally get a win. He's on a 3-fight losing streak. All this the guy does is lose and call out Conor McGregor. So maybe he can actually get a win against old man Dober, who's taking a lot of damage in his own right. But as I said, this is a perfect fight for the casuals to open the main card, and it would be absolute fireworks. Let's get on to the next fight, which would be Garry versus Shawn Brady for a number one contenders fight at welterweight. You know what? Kamaru Usman's out there calling for a title shot. I say heck no. This guy's won one fight in the last nearly 4 years. And yeah, man, he was on a 3-fight losing streak before that, and he's been inactive. We're not going to reward that. I understand he has a big name, but get in line, Kamaru Usman. You need at least 1 or 2 more wins before you talk a title shot, buddy. Let's talk about the real number one contenders, Garry versus Shawn Brady. And I know what you guys are thinking. What about Shavkat? Listen, Shavkat Rakhmonov is injured. He had a major knee surgery. He's most likely going to be out till next year. So let's get this fight going. Garry, Shawn Brady. I think Shawn Brady even called out Garry at one point. And listen, this is a good fight to see where each other's skills are. Garry obviously had that loss against Shavkat. Since then, he bounced back, and he made easy work of Carlos Prates outside that last round. And for Shawn Brady, he's coming off of arguably the best win of his entire career. He just destroyed and submitted Leon Edwards in round 4, I believe, by a guillotine in front of his home crowd. So Shawn Brady is on cloud 9. He's riding a high right now of a 3-fight win streak. He's only lost to Bilal Muhammad. So if Shawn Brady were to go out there and out-grapple and submit Garry, you cannot deny this guy that he would be next in line for a title shot against the winner of JDM versus Islam. So I think this is a perfect matchup to put up against each other. When Shavkat returns, we can see what to do with him. As far as Kamaru Usman versus Bilal Muhammad is the fight to make. That's perfect. So Shawn Brady versus Garry is a great addition to this main card and a number one contenders fight for the welterweight strap, in my opinion. Getting on to the next one, Jerry Prochazka versus Carlos Ulberg. Why did I say it like that? Yuri Prochazka versus Carlos Ulberg for another number one contenders fight. Listen, I know Yuri's being a dork and he's trying to go to school and get his degrees, which I do respect, but listen, man, it's time for this guy to return. Yuri brings bangers. This is the kind of fight you want on a main card. Yuri Prochazka is not going to allow Carlos Ulberg to just sit back and tap him with leg kicks like he did to Jan Blachowicz. Yuri Prochazka is going to come forward like a madman, like a samurai, and he's going to be looking to take Carlos Ulberg's head off. And I think he will. I think Yuri Prochazka will KO Carlos Ulberg. If you're getting KO'd by Kennedy and Zetriku at the beginning of your career, Yuri is steamrolling you. And I'm going to be honest, I wasn't too impressed with the way that Ulberg fought Jan Blachowicz. I know he won, and he just kind of point fighted, but listen, I don't think he can do that to Yuri. Yuri's going to get in his face, look to swing big hammers, look to take him out. And Yuri's only lost to Alex Pereira in the last 10 years. This guy's essentially undefeated outside of losing to one of the greatest strikers in UFC history. So people need to not write Yuri off. I know Ulberg's on an 8-fight win streak, but Yuri also bounced back since then against Jamal Hill and finished him. So I think this would be a great explosive fight for the main card to decide the next light heavyweight challenger, title challenger for Magomed Ankalaev. And yeah, get this fight on the main card, man, because this is a banger. And the next fight, the feature fight of the main card, we got Paddy Pimlet versus Justin Gaethje. Yes, I know it was rumored for UFC 319, but we'll push it back 1 more or 2 more months for UFC 320 in October. Paddy Pimlet versus Justin the Highlight Gaethje. I know Justin is yapping about title shots, but listen, man, you're not getting a title shot, buddy. You're only on a 1-fight win streak against a guy that you already had a win over. You need to win 1 more. If Justin Gaethje goes out there and he defeats Paddy Pimlet, which they might just give Paddy Pimlet the title shot, but I think Paddy Pimlet needs 1 more before he gets a title shot. Listen, if Justin Gaethje goes out there and defeats Paddy Pimlet, he deserves a title shot. If Paddy goes out there and defeats Justin, you could argue he deserves a title shot. Both, it goes either way. And the reason I put this so high up on the card is because Paddy's a big star, Justin's a big star. Not really a big star, but Justin has one of the most fun fight styles in the entire UFC. This would be a fun banger and could drag Paddy into a war. Listen, I know Paddy looked great against Chandler, but I think Justin Gaethje's a lot better of a striker than Chandler. And you know what? Justin Gaethje's fight IQ is a little bit higher than Chandler. Although he's a white belt on the mat, he's a lot better at keeping it on the feet than Michael Chandler is, in my opinion. I know Chandler was able to take down Patty, but it's a different fight, and this is perfect matchmaking right here. I know it's another older striker for Patty Pimlet, but listen, man, Justin Gaethje's dangerous. He could KO Patty, and if Patty Pimlet goes out there and steamrolls Gaethje just like he did Michael Chandler, you could argue that this guy's earned a title shot. Nonetheless, this is a great feature fight of a main card. Patty the Batty Lad versus Justin the Highlight Gaethje. Winner gets a title shot, and in the meantime, you do Arman Sarukian versus Ilya Taporia. Arman Sarukian is the legit #1 contender. That's the fight to make next. I know Ilya called out Patty. It's a big fight, but let Patty get one more win, man. We don't want Patty Pimlet getting a title shot off of beating Michael Chandler. That's just embarrassing. That's what happened to Charles, and Charles got folded like a lawn chair. Like, listen, bro, we're not handing out title shots against beating old man Michael Chandler who has no fight IQ. Either way, let's get on to the co-main event. Corey Sandhagen versus Merab Dvalishvili. That's right. We're going to have a champion doubleheader, starting off with Merab defending against Corey. We already know this is the next fight. I know Corey's only on a 1-fight win streak against Davison Figueiredo. However, with the current landscape of the bantamweight division, with Merab already defeating O'Malley twice, he's defeated Petr Yan by 50-45, and Petr Yan's booked. He's defeated Umar Nurmagomedov. So all those guys that have fought Merab, or they're booked if they're on a win streak. So obviously Corey Sandhagen's getting the next shot. And listen, man, Corey Sandhagen might have an interesting style to give Merab problems. Now, I don't think so. I think Merab 50-45s or 49-46 Sandhagen takes him down over and over, beats him up in the wrestling. Maybe this new and improved Merab will actually go for finishes more and maybe even gets a submission win. But Corey Sandhagen, as shown versus Frankie Edgar, this guy can absolutely shut the lights out with like a flying knee. And if there's anybody that's willing to go for a risky technique like that, it is Sandhagen. Now, I don't know because he has slowed down as he's gotten a little bit older. Sandhagen's 33. I know he looks like a dork and he looks like he's 25, but he's actually 33. Merab's 34, but Merab's built different, so age doesn't really apply to him. His cardio will always be machine-like until he retires. But yeah, man, this is a fun fight. I do think Merab would dominate Corey, but I mean, this is the only guy. Merab said that he's ready to fight Corey next. It's another name on his resume, and yeah, man, let's get this as the co-main event. This would be a fun fight. Corey Sandhagen's obviously always dangerous, and Merab's always looking to dominate you, so I think you have to obviously heavily favor Merab in this card. But either way, great co-main event. And getting on to the main event, obviously, it's what this card was built around. We're talking Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane. I've been waiting on this fight for a long time, not because I want to see Cyril Gane get to fight for a UFC belt a third time, despite being inactive and robbing in his last fight, because I want to see Tom Aspinall destroy Cyril Gane. This guy needs an ass whooping just for the way he acts and inside and outside the octagon. The entitlement from Cyril Gane is just like that of Justin Gaethje, is just like that of Yair Rodriguez. This guy thinks he deserves unlimited title shots. And you know what? Let's give him what he wants. Give him Tom Aspinall. He robbed Alexander Volkov in his last fight. I want to see Tom Aspinall return against Cyril Gane. I think Tom Aspinall would smoke Cyril Gane. He would either knock him out on the feet or he would take him down and steamroll him in the grappling. And this would be a perfect way to get the hype going right around Tom Aspinall because obviously he didn't get to win the heavyweight belt. John Jones cowered out and Tom Aspinall by default was made champion. So that's unfortunate for Tom because we obviously, even Tom himself said that he wanted to win the belt legitly. Either way, him versus Cyril Gane is the fight to make. Some people are going to say Jelton Almeida. Some people are going to say Alex Pereira moving up, Ankalaev, or give Volkov the rematch. Listen, let's do Cyril Gane versus Tom Aspinall. Cyril Gane got a win against Volkov on paper. He's the #1 contender technically, even though he's had 2 title shots. Let's get this fight done. Aspinall wants to be active, so it's not like these guys are going to be waiting at heavyweight for title shots. Aspinall's looking to fight 3-4 times a year, so yeah, man, this is the card, guys. This is the standard. This is what should be the standard for UFC cards that they want us American fans to pay $90 for, $85 for. This is what we should get. Championship double headliners, 6-fight main cards. Let's make Patty Pimlet versus Justin Gaethje a 5-round fight. 5-round feature fight. Why not, man? I mean, this is the kind of cards we need. Ranked fighters across the board. I mean, how many ranked fighters do we have on this card? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of the 13 fights I've laid out here are with ranked fighters. And I know what you guys are going to say. This is unrealistic. It's realistic, man. The UFC's gotten lazy. Like, I've heard some rumors that the reason that they get put on garbage cards sometimes is because they have a certain budget for every card. And if they go over budget, they have to, like, put a bunch of, like, debuting guys. And I understand that. But, man, they need to find a better way to structure the cards because the card placement recently, like, the way fights are structured on cards, the cards themselves, and just like no promotion, all that together has just caused the fans to be like, man, the UFC just is in a really bad spot. We need these stacked cards. We need to build hype. We need the new broadcasting partner of the UFC to want to sign with them and want to give them a lump sum of money because you're saying, hey, you know what? We're putting on these insanely great cards. But This is the card I built for Tom Aspinall's return, guys. UFC 320. Let me know what you guys think. What would you rate this card out of 10? Honestly, I give this card like a 9 out of 10. And I think it would perform great on paper. I think Aspinall would get a finish. I think Gaethje versus Patty would be a banger. Garry's always in fun fights. So yeah, bunch of former champions on here. So it's like, dude, we need cards like this in order for the UFC to survive. We need less Apex cards and we need more stacked pay-per-view cards. Stop selling out to the Middle East, Dana White, and actually give us Americans good fight cards, because that's what you used to do. And now we get garbage like UFC 312 in Australia. Like, come on, dude. Like UFC 313. That wasn't a great card with Pereira versus Ankalaev. But either way, I digress. This is the card I built, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments, and appreciate you guys watching. I'm out. Peace.